Hello folks, I hope you're having a great day today. Today I want to continue with my Living with HD channel. I've got a number of topics I've already kind of scripted out so that I can kind of talk about them ahead of time. I'm actually going to talk about my medicine that I'm on called Austedo. I'm currently in week 7 of an 8-week trial, so I figured I'd talk about that, what that's like, and such. I talked earlier about potentially doing sort of a sub-channel of my main channel where I do reviews of books that are in fantasy, science fiction, and horror genres. And I thought it would be fun for me to continue to do kind of a weekly video out there that's filmed each week and put it out there on Wednesday of each week, so that way you guys can kind of follow along. I'll talk about a lot of the sort of issues, take deep dives into various issues of living with HD. I think it might be, I'm 7 years into the condition, I think it might be a useful place for folks to come to if they have questions, if they're also living with HD or you know, working with people or have family members that have Huntington's disease too, like myself, and so I think it might be a good place to have conversations about that. Also, by doing this online and having a weekly blog, you could train an AI to kind of track it or to do something like that, so it may actually help contribute to the field. So my hope is that by helping this and putting this out there, that we help some folks out. But let's go ahead and start talking about my medicine, which is what today's video is going to be taking a look at. So today we're going to be taking a look at Austedo, which is the first medicine I've been on since I've had this condition. Now, according to the FDA, there are 3 separate sets of drugs that are approved to help with the physical aspects of Huntington's disease. Now, for those of you who may not remember, Huntington's disease is a genetic disease you get from people, your family members that you had, and there's about a 50-50 chance you'll get it if you had one parent with it, since it's a dominant gene. My mom had it, so I have it too. But now that I have it, there's basically 2 ways that it becomes manifest. The first is physically, palsies, shaking, their body movements. Over time, these will get more and more severe. They'll have to eat with special utensils, have to be in a wheelchair, eventually bedridden. Eventually they'll die from some sort of a physical thing that happened to cause them, like a heart stopping for long enough or being irregular enough that they die from it, something like that. So that's how they will typically die from it. And the second type are mental sort of things. Your personality will change, your mind will, your memory, your ability to think quickly, a lot of those things will go. You'll also have depression, both naturally because, hey, I'm in a permanent spiral downwards. Obviously, that's going to have some sort of mental health issues, depression, and so forth. But also because of the brain damage that happens to it too, also will affect those centers of the brain. So it's doubly likely that you may have some of those sorts of things. So, but there are 3 types of medicine out there. There's nothing for the mind stuff, your mental slow slide into oblivion, but there are some things out there that are approved for the physical aspects of the condition. The one that we're going to be talking look at today is Austedo. Now, back in November, my neurologist over at Johns Hopkins and myself sat down and talked about a few different methods for beginning to control myself. I'm 7 years in. My physical aspects, I think, have been much more slower than my mental. But I'm still having some physical issues with stuff. So one of the things that we did is in November we decided to start one of the 3 different types of drugs that are out there, and the first one we'll talk about is Austedo. That's the one I'm currently finishing up my 7-week trial on. So what we did was we took a sort of pre-test, and I basically had this neurological test that you take. You get a score. The higher your score, the worse it is. My score was an 18. Which said that, and somebody who was having no conditions should get a 0 on the score. So your average score for a person who doesn't have some sort of a physical ailment would be a 0. Now, you could have Huntington's disease or other things too. There are other things that could contribute to that score, but you'll do things like walk in lines, in straight lines. You'll try to get knocked over and try to stand up, those sorts of things. So you'll do a test like this where you're doing this finger as fast as possible, as accurately as possible, those sorts of things. So you're doing a number of these little tricks. For physical aspects of the test, I got an 18, which is good. A month into the test, and each week I had an increase of 6 milligrams from the previous week. I started with the minimum dosage. But about 4 weeks into the 8-week test, where they were increasing it every 6 weeks, I hadn't noticed any changes at all. This is a drug which has a lot of mental health issues. It can give the person who's taking it sleepiness, Parkinson's disease symptoms, and so forth. I hadn't noticed any of those bad things happening either, which is good, but I also hadn't noticed any of the good stuff happening either. I hadn't noticed any changes to my body over a month. Now, it would have been slow, so I tested myself each day doing things like writing to see if my writing had improved, and it didn't. Those sorts of things. So about a month in, we did I had a kind of a check-in with my neurologist, and we did both a before and an after test that morning. I hadn't taken it that morning. We tested myself that morning. I got an 18 again, just like normal. And then I took the medicine and then left for a couple of hours, came back. It should be 1 hour, so 2 hours. Definitely make sure it would have happened. And we didn't have any change at all in my motor function. So now 3 weeks into it, we're at the second highest dose possible for this. And I still hadn't seen a whole lot of things on my daily basis, like in me managing it. So I went in yesterday actually to do my next checkup. And this time I checked in at 9, which was great. I taken my medicine in the morning before I came over. And so I checked in, I clocked it at a 9 rather than an 18. And today, just to make sure that was not just an aberration, I did it myself. I did before and after tests myself and saw that some things that I was doing harder yesterday, they're easier yesterday than before, like walking in a line. Were much easier for me. So I noticed that wasn't after I took the medicine. We waited about an hour and a half. So I did a couple of sort of be home after just to make sure that, and it seems like it was. Now, think about that. This is going to be a condition that I could have for the next 10 years, 15 years before I die. And I have a medicine out here that could cut the physical aspects of that condition down to half, from a score of 18 down to a score of 9. If that number continued, if that percentage were to increase, I might be seeing I might be seeing really serious changes in 5 or 6 years. I'm 7 years in. The average person has it for 20, so before they die. So if I have it for another 13 years, that means I would have 13 years of half of the conditions that I have right now. On the other hand, if it's just maybe 10 or 12 or 15 fewer, that's still not nothing, right? The ability to walk in lines, the ability to go upstairs, the ability to eat, the ability to drink without dropping a cup, right? These are important life skills that we want to continue to have. I can, tie my shoes, right? Those sorts of things. So the fact that I have a drug here that we have, Austedo, that will do that is pretty good. I dropped that bottle. That's okay. I got the next bottle in my hand. And here I'll show you one of the pills. It's just a little random pill. It doesn't look like anything else that you may have seen of before. So now the good thing about this, the reason why we did this one first is that this is actually the generic version of the 3 ones that are out there. And it comes in more than half under the costs of the other ones that are already on the market. But it still is a really expensive drug. So here I want to give you kind of a perspective on how much this drug actually is, because it's a lot of cash. Alrighty, so, and again, I already told you, it's like less than half of what the other one costs, but that's alright, because get ready. Alright, it is $100 a week. Now I want you to think about that. Right, at $100 a week, that comes in at about $5,200 a year. It's more than $5,000 a year. That's a very, very expensive drug. That's a lot of money. That is a life-changing amount of money to be spending more than $5,000 a year on medicine. It would be expensive if it were $100 a month. Just roughly 20 or 25 a week. If it came in, at $1,200, $1,250 for the year, that's already an expensive amount to budget, assuming, but now obviously, for some cases, insurance will cover them, but not always. And sometimes you'll have to pay a smaller amount, but it won't fully cover it, right? So you don't want to be fighting against something that's that expensive. $100 a week is a lot to be paying, budgeting for co-pays and that sort of thing. Now I'm on a free week trial right now because they are clearly drug dealers. They know what they're doing, right? They're going to get you hooked on it. They know how much, I've already talked about how it's at here week 7. I've gotten to finally to a level of dosage that actually works for me. And it's dropping my physical, conditions and aspects by half. That's a lot, right? And that's a big amount. That is a life-altering amount of stuff. So now that I've got my free trial, now they're going to want to bring you back in, right? And so you can kind of see their methodology of doing business, right? And they're coming in as the cheapest one on the market. So you're still, you're going to want to buy it, right? Or even get some reduced costs. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be $100 a week. Except if it's not $100 a week, I faked you out. It's actually $1,000, or it's actually more than $1,000. It's about $60,000 a year. $60,000 a year for a tablet. Now I did the 5,000 so you could kind of get that context. I wanted to get that into your head. What would it be like if it were 100 a week? It's a lot of money. But more than 1,000 a week? I don't even understand how a pill is worth that. It's just a pill. It's not like somebody's coming over here. It's not gold laced, and there's no like super expensive ingredients in it, right? Why is it that much? Why is it more than 1,000 a week? Why is, you know, why would somebody be spending $60,000 a year for a medicine? Why would an insurance company be doing it? I mean, sure, you might want to say, well, your insurance covers it. But why would an insurance company be okay with that, right? And be like, oh, well, fine, we'll go ahead and send that $60K money. I feel like this is a good example of how drug companies, and I've never really experienced that because I've typically been pretty healthy. I haven't had a lot of drugs, but this is the first time. This is a big price check for me. You know, typically my drugs might be $25, $30, $50, $100 for a bottle, some for a prescription, something like that. But I've never had to pay out of pocket this kind of money. Luckily, I'm on a prescription plan. We're already having that debate now. Will they cover it? Will they not? How much is it going to be? I don't know what the final cost will be, but $60,000 a year for a simple drug like this feels like a lot of money. And again, it's coming in less. The other ones are well over $100,000. The other two that are on the market. So this is the cheap generic version, and so for context, how much money do I make a year? $48,000. So this one drug makes more money than I do in a year, and I have 2 master's degrees, and they're master's degree jobs, right? And this drug brings in about 50% more money. Well, actually, it's a little bit less than 50%, more like probably a third more, from 48 to 60. It's only 12,000, but you get the idea. And it's a lot more than I do. A big percentage of its take home for just one person on one drug. And even if the company gets that from insurances rather than the person who's buying for it, they're still getting their money, right? They're still happy with the results. They're going to make a ton of money. Now, maybe this is because there just isn't a big market for it, so they have to make their money back because there may not be a big market for HD drugs, although this drug does work for some other things that are not Huntington's disease related. But anyway, I wanted to give you kind of that context of where I am kind of as a person, where I am with my physical aspects of the condition, Austedo and so forth. Are you taking Austedo? Have you heard of it? Are you on any other sorts of medicines? I'd be happy to have that conversation with you further. Were you aware that some medicines, a single piece of medicine, not 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 9 types of medicine, but a single pill would be $60,000 a year, and that's cheap, and then cheaper than anything else in the market that are over $100,000 each. Is that something that would surprise you? Is there anything in my video that you would be interested in talking about? I'd be happy to sort of talk to you about that further and sort of engage you with that conversation more in the comments below. I'll also link you below to an article that has where they debuted it a couple of years ago. You can see some positive remarks in the business world about the debut price and how much cheaper it is than their competitors and how it'll position them well as a company. So I'll link you to an article about that below that I did for some research for this story for you. And then finally, hey, if you watch this video all the way to the end, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day. We all have such busy days and busy lives. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's very humbling, and I appreciate that. Have a great day.